Welcome to another episode of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. It's our monumental 80th show, and of course, we had to have the guy who's been on it the most. Joining us today is Fox Sports analyst and Fast Motorsports driver James Hinchcliffe. James, how have you been?
I've been well, and congrats on show number 80. That's huge. That's great.
It's been pretty crazy. I think you're the second driver actually the first driver to come on the show. So always grateful to have you on. It's been started that 2020, so 5 years strong. So we're still rolling.
There you go.
Well, yeah, kind of going into it, you had some pretty cool news last week. You're back to full-time employment. Pretty cool. You'll be doing analyst work for Fox Sports full-time on the IndyCar side of things. Heading into this year, what makes you so excited to keep coming back and doing the broadcast side of things?
Well, I mean, look, it's always been a passion of mine, and IndyCar has been my life for so long that it was great. When the announcement was made that Fox would be taking it over, we were able to kind of start those conversations. And I never don't want to be involved in IndyCar racing. Like I said, it's been my life for so long, and I'm really proud of that sport, and I want to be part of helping grow it. And based on what we've seen so far, and the conversations that I've had with everybody from Fox Sports, and all the plans that I'm seeing that they have for IndyCar, it's definitely an era of growth I think that we have coming. So it's all very exciting.
And obviously you'll have Townsend Bell by your side again, and then Will Buxton at play-by-play. Just how do you, I guess you guys have, obviously you've known Will for a good bit of years and that sort of thing, doing F1 stuff. But how do you guys, how has been that first little bit of interaction between all three of you and how do you feel it'll go, to start off the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to go very well. As you say, I've known Will and worked with Will. I've known Townsend and worked with Townsend. So I guess I'm kind of the common thread there. I'm the common denominator. But just based on my experience with both, I know that everyone's going to get along well. They're going to gel well, and we're going to put together, I think, a really strong lineup. It's having Will come to the booth is going to give it a very different vibe, a very different feel. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that his style is going to be something that maybe appeals to that younger race fan, the newer race fan. Make it a little more conversational in some ways. So it might sound a little bit different, it might look a little bit different, but it's same old great racing that we see from IndyCar year in and year out. And it's a group of people I'm really excited to work with.
Now you're going into year number four on the TV side of things. Just, go back to that first time, coming in now going into this year, just how do you feel, or I guess what would you say is the biggest thing you've learned from these first 3 years of doing it
Oh wow, that's
on the
that's a long
spot?
list. I don't know if there's just one thing, to be honest, David. It's you're constantly learning as well, right? It's not dissimilar to driving in that way. They say, and every driver will tell you that every time you go on the racetrack, there's something to learn. Um, I would say every time, you're up in the booth and calling a race, there's something to learn. So for me, it's more that I've been very lucky to work alongside some incredible people like Lee Diffie and Townsend, like Will Buxton and Laura Winter and all the people on the F1 side of things that have allowed me to kind of learn and grow in this side of the sport.
And yeah, obviously you got the Rolex coming up. Obviously you got the fire suit there in the background, and
Yeah.
coming up here this weekend with FAF Motorsports again. It'll be a different car this year with the Lamborghini. Comparing last year to this year, how has that transition been moving over to a different car and getting accustomed to everything?
Well, it's a big adjustment for everybody on the team, honestly. The team had to do this last year with a new car and a new manufacturer, and then, coming with Lambo this year, again, a new car, a new manufacturer, and learning the car is one thing, learning the culture of the team, the group that we're working with from Lamborghini is a different thing as well. And it has been a lot of work, certainly, but it's been a tremendous effort from both sides. I mean, what the FAF crew did to be able to get this car here for how late this deal was done and how late the car showed up to the shop is nothing short of a miracle. And then the support, in the build up to it, and then on the ground here in Daytona from Lamborghini has been next level. So it's definitely been a lot to learn, a baptism of fire in a lot of ways. But I think the way that the team feels supported by Lambo, the way that Lambo feels, supported by the team and the effort the team's putting forth, it's created a really good environment so far. we're one test into the season. There's still a long way to go, but certainly it's been a positive experience so far.
Yeah, I'm curious with, now that you've gone from full-time race car driver to part-time only running endurance races, how do you feel, I guess, maybe your mindset or going into like an endurance race like this, how do you feel maybe as a driver it's maybe shifted kind of knowing that, you're not doing it as much and maybe you are soaking it up a little bit more or whatever that may be.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, being the enduro driver gives you that freedom maybe a little bit more than being a full-time driver to kind of enjoy these events. And it makes you appreciate the times you do get to go into a race car because they are kind of few and far between compared to people that are doing this full season. But again, I've been so fortunate in my career. I've got to do a lot of things, race a lot of cars in a lot of places, and the fact that I'm still able to be here with FAF doing three of the most hallmark events in the sports car calendar globally is huge. And so I am trying to enjoy every minute of it. I'm getting to meet some cool people, race with some awesome guys that I wouldn't have otherwise. And it's just another thing that I've been so lucky to get to experience.
And you mentioned the test a little bit ago. Obviously, you guys, you don't have so much time to, get into the car and everything, but it seemed like you guys have a little bit of speed. What do you feel have been sort of the takeaways from the roar?
Honestly, it's all positive. It's when you come here with a brand new race car, you're never sure exactly what's going to happen. And first and foremost, it has to run, which it did flawlessly, so that's great. And it seems to have a decent amount of pace in it. It's tough to tell at the roar. You never really know who's doing what. We're so new to everything. We're just learning, so we don't have the capacity to play any games. Where I feel like some of the more established teams and manufacturers combos have been able to maybe do that a bit. But we'll see. I've obviously got three very talented co-drivers and Andrea and Marco and Jordan, all of them factory Lambo guys, so they know the car. They say, "Hey, this feels pretty good. It's not doing anything weird." And I think if we can just have something that runs consistently and runs well, then the strategy side of the team has always been a strength for FAF, and 24 hours gives you a lot of opportunity to play that strategy. So hopefully, it's putting us in a position to be in the conversation at the end of the day.
And going in obviously with qualifying and then going into the race as well, what do you feel you guys are kind of, just maybe keying in on to make sure, a certain thing is up to snuff and gives you the best opportunity to go for a GTT Pro win?
Well, obviously there's some changes this year in terms of the torque sensors being on the car and what that requires of a driver and of a team and of a manufacturer. So that's kind of the thing I think a lot of teams are honing in on to try to figure out how to optimize the best, which is a fun challenge I think for everybody. And then the big thing with 24-hour races is just having a car that's good across many different track conditions, right? You don't want to have the best car in the heat of the day. You don't want to have the best car at night. You want to have the okayest car always. You do try to like tend to bias the setup a little bit more to the kind of afternoon because that's when the race ends. So if you can get yourself to a place where you're in the fight with 4 hours to go, that's when you really want the car to come alive. But it's hard to predict what track conditions are going to be like and what weather is going to be like, 24 hours from the start of the race, which is really 28 hours from when you need to decide a setup probably. So yeah, it's just trying to make a car that's as consistent as possible.
And final couple questions. I've always been curious, as someone who's competed in the Indy 500 or Rolex 24 and two of racing's biggest, marquee events. What sets them apart from each other, just in terms of, maybe someone's kind of new to the sport. They're like, they're big events. What's the difference?
Well, yeah, they're both huge events, and I think in both cases that comes from the history of each of them. Both very long-standing races and ones with a lot of prestige behind them because of it. But I think what sets them apart is, in IndyCar, you've got your normal 25, 6, 7 full season drivers plus the handful of one-offs. Most of them are people with IndyCar experience. Obviously we have the Kyle Larsons, the Fernando Alonso's, and the Kurt Busches that have come over and done it. But for the most part, it's the IndyCar crowd. But what's so phenomenal and what's so different about the Rolex 24 is you have drivers from so many different disciplines of four-wheel motorsport from all over the world. An incredible disparity in experience and whether it's the world champion, sports car driver or the business person who wants to come race a pro-am class, for the first time. You've got this plethora of different stories to learn about and to hear about, and like I say, different levels of experience and everything. So it means a lot to everybody, and everybody that's fortunate enough to compete in it. But it's a very special event, I think, because of the way it brings all these people together from all corners of the motorsports world.
And final question, this, aside from the racing part, what do you feel you're most looking forward to maybe outside the race car, whether it's going to the Ferris wheel, going to grab a hot dog somewhere, what do you feel that would be?
Oh man, I mean, hopefully it's celebrating something at the end of the race.
Right.
That's the part I'm most looking forward to. We got a lot of work to make that happen. But no, it's honestly it's just great being back with the team. We had our first season together last year, and it was so much fun being back racing, especially with a team from the hometown and all of that. So for me, just again, and like you said earlier, it's enjoying these moments and the build up to it, and getting to share in whatever happens on Sunday and Saturday with this group of people.
Well, James, I always appreciate the time. Thanks again, and hopefully everything goes well. Maybe you'll have a nice Rolex on on your wrist by the end of the weekend.
Fingers crossed.